So good evening, everyone, and a really big welcome to all of you who are joining this evening for this Sienna Lalela pre-launch or pre-release webinar. I know a couple of you are still joining, and as it normally happens for the first couple of minutes or so, but just by way of introduction, my name is Stefan Botha, and I will be facilitating the chats this evening. We want to keep it super relaxed and super conversational. I think the objective of these discussions prior to a launch event is really allow anyone who's interested in purchasing come release to be able to get all the information they're looking for, hear it directly from the development team, hear it directly from the finance team, and just be able to get any unanswered questions. So that's really the purpose of this evening. Really encourage you to ask as many questions you possibly can in the chat. The conversation will be recorded and it'll be circulated tomorrow, so it gives you the opportunity to circulate onto friends and family and business partners or co-investors, and just to chat through the product, and to cover as much ground as we possibly can. We're going to keep this quite short. We know everyone's time is really valuable, so probably 40 to 45 minutes. But if there are any additional questions, we'll obviously continue until they're all done. I think just to recap, Sienna Lalela, which is probably the big news on the North Coast at the moment, hell of an exciting product in terms of what it offers, both in terms of living within a secure estate, but also from a price point perspective. It's a collaboration between Collins Residential and Evoca, and we've got both members of each side of the development team here this evening. So I think just by way of introduction, before we go into the product itself, we've got Geoff Perkins, who's the residential director of Collins Residential. And for those of you who don't know, Collins are the team behind Lalela as an overarching estate, but also the team behind Seaton, Zululami, Club Med, and really have played such a significant role in unlocking what has become the North Coast in terms of the destination and the investment proposition that it has become. So how's it, Geoff?
Hi, Steph. Great to be here.
And then we've got Linda Rall, who's the provincial sales manager for ooba. For those of you who don't know, ooba are the mortgage origination team on the project, there to help facilitate your financing solutions. And we're going to chat to Linda a lot today about the process for those of you investing for the first time, or for those just really wanting to understand the benefits of having a mortgage origination partner on board. So Linda, always great to have you on these chats.
Thank you so much, Steph. So great to be here. Thank you.
And then last but not least, Chris Horn from Evoca Developments. And I think
not funny.
And I think, Chris, I mean, been involved in a number of developments that are happening currently. Blitzer Groves, Blackbrick Mshlanga, the Radisson Mshlanga soon to be launched, and Aviva in Imberton, which was also a joint venture with the Collins Group. So a significant amount of experience. I think between the two teams have really brought an incredible product to market, which I think we'll chat about in a sec. But I think just high level, before we go into Sienna, it's a studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments ranging from 825,000 to 2.2 million. Only releasing 57 in the first phase. Based on the level of interest, the interest has been significant. We basically rolled the launch process out over 3 weeks, starting this Saturday. And again, it is a first come, first served scenario. And we wanted this webinar to coincide with that period to give everyone the ability to be able to act quickly and to have all the right details at their disposal. 20,000 Rand deposit. And I think the big thing is it offers a hybrid approach, either for the investor, where the yields are between 7.5% to 10.2% in year one, or those wanting to invest to live, which is obviously a big component of the theme on the North Coast. But again, any questions in the chat below, and I'll try and push them onto the team to answer, and pretty much get to any question you guys have. Anything, levies, rates, security, facilities, you're welcome to ask anything. And that's the objective of this. Keep it conversational and keep it light. But I think, and Geoff, just to jump straight into it, obviously, Collins, in terms of what you guys have unlocked in terms of Zululami, which has then gone to Seaton, Seaton achieving significant values and having such a role to play in the greater North Coast story. And then obviously the story behind Lalela as a project tying to Manor House. I mean, I think maybe a little bit of context around that.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. I mean, as you know, we fully invested in the North Coast. I've said it on many occasions. We're very passionate about the North Coast, as it's well documented. And I always find it quite funny that we always compared to the Western Cape, but the Western Cape's a province. Our little region is technically a town. And, we're the second, as they always refer, fastest growing area in the country. But it's for that reason that the North Coast is doing so well. Why we invested originally with Zululami, which now I think only has about 14 sites left available, and why we moved on to Seaton and pressed the button on Club Med, and then we have Lalela. So Lalela is very interesting. Obviously, accessibility is prime, and it's right by the brand new interchange, which is going to be a game changer for those estates in the nearby facility. It is going to be very close to a commercial centre, a new commercial centre, which is going to unlock. But more importantly, we wanted to offer homes that cater for as much of the economically active as possible. And so from that affordable space up to the more luxurious, all within one estate and all comprising lots of free space. I mean, typically, standalone sectional title schemes are often in quite a confined space because developers want to maximize what they can do. But this is a bit unique in that Sienna sits on some 10 hectares within a 110 hectare estate, and less than 50% of that estate is going to be sold for homes. So your amount of green open spaces is fantastic, and that was our theme, Steph. It was to allow an affordable opportunity right up to something a bit more luxurious, all within one estate, all with lots of space, and all with brilliant accessibility.
Yeah, and then I mean, Geoff, you've obviously touched a little bit on the commercial precinct, but I mean, obviously the big news at the moment is Seaton House as a school that's coming in. I mean, I know the interchange has been. I mean, many people don't necessarily understand the implication that's going to have, but it's been a long thing in the making, but it's going great guns at the moment. And I mean, that pretty much all coincides with when the first guys at Sienna are going to take occupancy, hey?
Well, correct. So that'll be finished in the first half of next year, that interchange. And as you know, it's probably a 1 minute drive from the Lalela gate to be on it. That whole commercial precinct, yes, Seaton House, incredibly exciting. It's the first not-for-profit private school that's been built in the last 20 years in the country. Already they're oversubscribed for what they intend for the first intake. And it's a good old traditional headed up by the church, Christian church. It's a not-for-profit school run by Board of Governors. We're very privileged to have the last outgoing head of Kearsley College to head up the board at the moment. There's some 4 retired head teachers steering that school in the right direction, and its pricing is extremely competitive. So, that to spearhead the region together with retail opportunities, various other commercial opportunities, and some light industry. It's going to further enhance what we already know is an extremely vibrant North Coast.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Chris, I mean, just to chat about it, I mean, I think, I mean, in one of our recent studies we spoke about the fact that we've got 193 families moving to the North Coast every month at the moment across Ballito and Salt Rock, which is effectively what Lalela falls into the greater catchment area. And then also spoke about the fact that sectional title properties within an estate attract a 62% premium over sectional title properties without an estate, and just showing the value of being within a confined, safe environment, but also facilities. And I think this case is quite unique because you're playing off the existing Lalela facilities, but you've also got everything that Geoff's spoken about on your doorstep. And I've always said you've got a very good gut feel, without giving you too much credit, for development and where the market comes from. But I mean, what is it? I mean, you obviously saw something in Sienna from the word go, and I mean, just unpack that.
So I was just looking at my records earlier, my emails. We've been looking at this out for 5 years, literally for 5 years. And what eventually we couldn't reach a deal on the basis, and the game changer was the off-ramp. The off-ramp, if you've been to Saltrock, Sheffield on a weekend, the traffic congestion, you'll know exactly what it's talking about. That was the first point. The second point was the space. I'm going to correct my colleague, Geoff Perkins, actually 13 hectares within 120 hectares site. Now, that's less than 20 units a hectare, which is incredible in an affordable development. Every single unit looks onto a green open space, which is unheard of. So at least less than 20 units a hectare, everyone gets space. The garden units, our smallest garden is 50 square meters. Our biggest garden is 120 squares. Now, for a home that's big. So the point is, within the Lalela facilities, the incredible facilities, and there's probably 10 bullet points, paddle courts, family pools. Within our estate, we've got a pool, we've got a clubhouse, we've got a gym, we've got a laundry. There's a gym in Lalela itself. We've got a dam for fishing. It's just an incredible opportunity. And in 20 years of doing this kind of development, I've never seen anything like it. So when the opportunity came around, when the interchange finally happened, I don't know, Collins and Geoff in particular got a lot of sleepless nights and grey hairs, but they made this off-ramp happen. We said, let's do something. And we're doing something. And it's going to do well, 100%.
Yeah, and I think Geoff summed it up earlier about Lalela. I mean, it's an exceptional product that's been bought in at a unbelievable price, and I think at scale you can create facilities like that. But it's quite interesting that, without doing too many stats to everyone, the average price of a sectional title property within the state in the greater Saltrock area is 3.469 million, and I think that has been the big thing, is how do you bring a product in that doesn't compromise in any aspect, but between the price bracket that we spoke about, that sort of 850 to 2.2 or so. And I think, I mean, I'm sure you agree that is where we see a massive sweet spot in the market, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed, Steph. Yeah.
And then, I mean, Linda, I mean, I think I know we've seen it. I mean, like I said, the interest has been significant. With the amount of leads we've seen, the level of interest, the number of people who have booked site visits between now and Saturday and then beyond. And it's a combination between investors and first-time buyers. And I mean, I think maybe just to unpack for guys at the moment, what's the bank's appetite when it comes to investment, and what does it look like for a first-time buyer wanting to get into market?
That's a very good question, Steph. Thank you very much, because both those client segments are really favored by the banks at the moment. In fact, the banks are very optimistic in terms of providing credit, especially on a home loan product. There is a huge appetite for lending. There is a huge thirst for market share growth at each of our lenders. And that in itself creates a fantastic environment for any home buyer, whether you are a first-time buyer, investment buyer, or just, a buyer that's bought before, to gain really good interest rates and good terms. It's a very good environment for credit borrowers to be out there seeking home finance. But to come back to your actual question, so the two segments, first-time home buyers, forms a large part of the business that we do at ooba. Just short of 50% of the business that we submit on a monthly basis are first-time home buyer applications. So it's come down a little bit from, prior years, post 2021, when we had those low interest rate environments. And it's kind of hovering around 47, 48, but we can see it already starting to surge as there is a positivity around property, as there is the hope of further rate cuts. We obviously would like to see that happen, because that definitely stimulates the market. We are seeing a lot of first-time home buyers coming out and requesting to be pre-qualified, which is really a great tool and something that I want to speak a little bit more about just now. But there is also the bank's willingness to accommodate those first-time buyers with particular products. 100% lending is there for everybody who can afford it. First-time buyers can actually afford, or if they can afford, they can also qualify for more than 100% lending to help them with costs that is linked to the property purchase. I was just actually mentioning to you earlier on, if people buy on the launch date, I think there's some serious discounts available if I read your brochures correctly. So they might not even need that extra cost-inclusive loan from the bank to get into the market here. And then, of course, the investor market is equally very sought after by the banks. The banks, two of our lenders have brought in a product whereby a property purchase as an investment, where they will look at the future rental income that property will yield, and they will add that using their own formulas to the affordability assessment up front. Now, that's very innovative because that's opening up a whole big scale of people that's currently owning a property, but they also want to invest in a property, but they don't have a current schedule of rental earnings or proof of lease agreements. With this new product opening at two of the banks, it's really fueling a lot of interest from prospective investors. Young people wanting to invest in property, not particularly to live in it, but to rent it out. So we are seeing a lot of innovative and hungry strategies being deployed by our lenders for, stimulating those market segments. And the price point in Sienna Lalela is absolutely geared at the bondable market out there. You were mentioning that an average purchase price in Salt Rock area is around 1.4 something million. That is
sectional title 3.46 average price.
3.26. Okay. Yeah. So that is quite expensive for a first-time home buyer and an investor. So with this particular price range here, I see a lot of opportunity for people to come out and become homeowners. It's actually an opportunity for them to enter the market, with the pricing ranging from 8 to 25, 825, I think it is your lowest one. And the highest one is just over 2 million, 2125, I think it is. So, I mean, that is the spectrum for people that are looking to get into the market. The bond finance lenders are fully behind this product. In fact, they're very confident with Sienna Lalela. All the banks are on board, looking for those end user funding opportunities. And we're looking forward to assisting them.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think just to add to what you're saying, I think we always have these discussions with people who are investing into an off-plan development. And I mean, obviously the logical benefits, you're not paying transfer duty, which we know is a big thing. There are certain costs, and we're going to talk about the certain costs that have been incorporated into the launch incentive. And Chris, I'll chat to you about that in a second. But I think the biggest thing that people sometimes don't know or sometimes forget is that the beauty is you're investing into a product now and locking in a purchase price. And yes, you're securing by virtue of the deposit you pay and your mortgage finance, which, like you say, banks are very, very bullish at the moment. But then having the ability to see the capital appreciation without having to put down anything further. And I mean, we're seeing in the area at the moment, 7 to 8% is pretty standard year on year. But then also seeing that appreciation that comes from buying into a new estate and a new product that normally is quite significant between locking your purchase price and transfer. And that is a big thing. And we always know the first units, the first 56 that we got in the first phase, always see that surge up front. So I think that's quite a big component. But I mean, I think, Chris, just to recap for the guys, we've said that the launch is effectively a 3-week period. But what are the benefits to those guys who are getting in first and locking in their purchase in the period?
I think the marketing probably speaks a lot to that, but I'll just reiterate it. Obviously, buying from a developer, you don't pay transfer duty. This is for the first 57 units, no transfer fees, no levy stabilization fees. So it's probably on an average 140,000 rand worth of savings to buy with the launch. And I think I just need to reiterate something. We're not chasing price here. I promise you, I can show you a couple of products that are cheaper than us. We're not that. We are product-driven solution. That's what we're after. That's what our development is all about. Within the greater Lalela, at less than 20 units a hectare, big gardens, incredible facilities, walking, running, pet-friendly, so we are product-driven solution as opposed to chasing price. Price can go against you, and we're not about that. Definitely not within the Lalela context at all.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go through the marketplace, which is available to all purchasers towards the end, and just go through that. And like you say, I mean, it's pretty incredible into some of those garden or ground floor units, and the demand around that. Just a couple of questions that have gone. We're going to try and get through them. Will there be bond costs be covered as well? I think you've spoken to that in terms of for those getting in early. What support is there for first-time buyers? Linda, I think you sort of alluded to that. A question around green bonds and reduced rates in the product. Linda, I don't know if you want to talk around.
So I can talk. So we're not green edge certified, but we are gas driven. So gas, hot water, gas, hob. So we are a green product if you're from an XA perspective.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think, Steph, if I can add there to Chris, that caller or that viewer must be thinking of the EDGE certified incentives that some of the banks offer in terms of the interest rate offerings. But, with the banks, and not taking anything away from those incentives, with the banks being as aggressive as they are, our home buyers are getting pretty good incentives, in terms of rate concessions, even without that currently. But yes, to Chris's point, there is a green element in terms of being gas driven.
Okay. And then I know there's a question around facilities, and maybe Geoff, I mean, we've obviously spoken about facilities that are unique to Sienna, and then the facilities within Greater Lalela. Can you just elaborate on that? I mean, I know we've spoken about paddle courts, we've spoken about wetlands, pools, all that kind of stuff, and just to differentiate between what is Sienna and what is Lalela as a whole.
Yeah, so I mean, Chris mentioned earlier on the real benefit of being a sectional title scheme within a bigger estate. It offers your space, your access to a whole variety of additional amenities that ordinarily you wouldn't get if there was a fence around a scheme like Sienna. So within the estate, these will all be finished by Christmas. We've got tennis courts, multi-purpose courts. We've got 2 paddle courts. There's a sand volleyball court. There's going to be a putt-putt set up. We've got a magnificent estate leisure pool. I'm actually quite blown away personally how well our land art studio have done in terms of the design of that area. A fantastic clubhouse. So it's all of that's going to open up now by December. But I always go back to space. Space is everything. When you can go and have a picnic around the dam, or go with your young one to go fishing, or whatever it is, it's time and space are the 2 important things. So that's the real upside, and I can't stress that enough, because too often in these sectional title type of schemes, space is limited. And we have successfully succeeded in making sure there's lots of it available here.
Yeah, I think I mean, you just have to spend, as I said to you guys, but spending quite a lot of time in Seaton and Zulami on the weekend, and I think those are like perfect examples of green areas and wetland areas that, when they get done correctly in terms of, and I think land art's an amazing example in terms of what you guys have done there in terms of walking trails and relaxation areas and all that kind of stuff. And the beauty about Lalela is it'll be no different in terms of just how incredible it is to have those spaces that people can utilize for running or walking and dogs and etc. etc. And I think that's just an extension of what you guys have rolled out so successfully. And like you said, it's very hard to actually explain it until you get to see it firsthand, and really is what differentiates.
Also, Steph, we haven't mentioned yet the Manor House, which attracts so many wonderful daytime fairs and functions. And we've got the big North Coast Christmas Fair coming, and these are facilities that are bang on the Lalela residents' doorstep. So it's a hub of activity, the area. Your convenience is going to be on your doorstep from schooling to your shopping. So it's just it's an exciting product and an exciting place.
Chris, just a couple of questions that come through. A couple of questions around the product offering and around the projected yields. Are you happy to talk to that?
I think Geoff's got all that information in front of him, if I'm not mistaken. He took it from me.
We actually joked, Steph, that you would ask him that question and I've got all the information. But I can talk to the yields. Yeah, so I mean, and it's a big thing because if you can...
Geoff, I'm going to jump in there. I just want people to understand our current levy projection is done on only 57 units. Now we're going to end up doing 250 units, which means that at least 25% reduction, not in our HIA levy, in our actual levies. And it's an economy of scale thing, more people contributing. So we've been conservative, so please just bear that in mind when you're looking at the numbers on the levies itself.
So, I mean, Steph, just to jump in, you asked about the yields on the studios. The net yields are sitting at about 10.2% on our projected rentals. And then the largest of the units being the 3-bed, 2-bath, we're looking at an estimated rental yield of 7.2%. So, I mean, really, if you look at the smaller units, they're coming in, you'll be able to basically service your bond with your net available rental without technically putting any additional money in.
And just to reiterate, there's no Airbnb. However, there are holiday short-term rentals. It's a minimum 5 days short stay. So, albeit there's no overnight stay, there's certainly a minimum 5-day stay. So, to the investor with a smaller unit, that would be attractive.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think just to elaborate on it, Chris, I mean, I do want to ask you just now about the different pricing per unit type and how you guys came about with the configuration. But I mean, I think it's vitally important. I think we understand that property does build generational wealth in terms of investing. The benefit to invest off plan, be able to use banks' money, and obviously that's where the origination comes in. But it's quite interesting. So from a yield perspective, I mean, just for anyone who's wanting to know what a yield means, yield basically that your net rental income after all your expenses have been taken off, that 10% means that you're basically paying back the value of your property over 10 years in rental income. But it's quite interesting that if you look at, like, obviously year one, you've got your projections, and those yield projections are high, 10.2%. But in year two, your rental gets slightly higher, and so forth. But we basically, I mean, if you look at those things after year 5, a studio, as an example, is generating a positive rental income of almost 2,000 Rand a month, which means after you've paid your bond, after you've paid your levy and your rates and so forth, your rental income is in surplus to your costs. And I think it's quite unique. And really, I think that's why we've seen such a big interest from investor market, but also those who want those lifestyle aspects that Lalela offers. And then, Chris, I mean, if you could just go through, I mean, obviously a lot of work went into the configuration of the units, and obviously the overall offering in the first phase.
So, market research is one thing, but the market will dictate where the demand is. And so these first 57 units offer every single unit type that we could imagine: studio, 1-bed, 2-bed, 1-bath, 2-bed, 2-bath, and 3-bed. And based on that, based on the demand, is how we will roll out the rest of the phases. So that's how we got to that offer. So rather than preempt the market that we believe, rather let the market tell us where the demand is. And that's where we got to that configuration.
Okay, and just remind me, or everyone, in terms of the from prices per unit type.
I don't have that in front of me, Steph. Don't put me on the spot, yeah. I think you've got that, Geoff. No. You stole that one, Geoff.
Yeah, I can
look to your right.
I can answer that. I knew that anyway, Chris. But no, the units are from 825,000 up to 2125. That's for your round units.
Yeah.
Per unit up.
And then I think studios from 825.
Yes,
One bed, one bath from 1.95.
1195. Your 2-bed, 1 bath, 1485, 2-bed, 2 bath, 1685, and 3 beds, 2 bath from 1950.
There you go.
Going up though, as we've said, the units with the big gardens are more.
Yeah, which we'll show the guys in a second. And there are lots of questions coming here, which is awesome. So we're going to try and get through them quickly. But Linda, just everyone asked about interest rates. If you had a crystal ball, where are interest rates going to go going forward?
So it's a big debate and conversation piece, because clearly as an industry player, we are advocating for lower rates. We are wondering why it hasn't been chopped already. And we are very positive that there will be some rate reductions going forward. But again, it's something that is not in our control. And there's so many differing views on it. But I do believe that there is enough argument in favor of further reductions. They're not. So I think we're in a good spot for potential further rate cuts, maybe not immediately, maybe 1 or 2 at some point soon. And we are hopeful. We are hopeful that that will happen, but we're already seeing, with the current rate being at 10.5, there's a lot more interest and a lot more affordability that's opened up. And with the rate concessions that the banks are offering, I mean, if we look at our stats, currently there is a national average of 0.66 below prime. So that in itself is quite a nice reduction, opening up further for people to be able to, afford that product. And then again, there's also terms. There's loan to value negotiations that happens. A lot of people are able to secure 100% funding. I know the deposit required here is 20,000 Rand 7 days after signing of your offer to purchase. But clients can apply for 100% lending if they qualify for the repayment and the risk rating is good. And, if there's a deposit payable, then it's even better in terms of rate negotiations. So there's a lot that can be done to make it possible based on each and every person's individual situation. And on that note, I would really like to encourage anybody who's interested in purchasing here to contact us so that we can assist you with the pre-assessment. We've got some really cool tools. There's a bond indicator, ooba bond indicator link that is already on the website on your listings. And, it's a self-service tool. People can, interested parties can just click on it, and it's a 3-minute process to see and test for yourself what your affordability looks like and what your credit rating looks like. And from that point on, we've got, dedicated consultants that would liaise with you and do a little bit more of an in-depth assessment to give you a more accurate level of affordability. And that's the benefit of that, is that you can then safely shop for the unit within the scheme that you can qualify to purchase. And the developer will also know that there's a reasonably high probability for a conversion. In other words, it becomes then a favorable opportunity for the developer as well. So just to tell you, Steph, that rate cuts should be on the record. I hope I do one day get gifted a crystal ball that will tell me everything that happens. But for now, we remain hopeful.
Yeah. Linda, let me
just
jump in there quickly. And Linda, obviously, where the real value add comes in is if someone's not quite getting over the line, like to say, add your dad, your mom to that deal to get you over the line. So in other words, or have you got a bigger deposit, or you've got an access bond, that kind of thing, because it mustn't be set in stone, as you know. If you can't get a bond, the deal is done. So it's like a value add. Let's structure it differently. Let's help you get it over the line.
100%. And there's so many avenues that one can pursue that is not just stock standard, the normal loan requirements. And that's why it's important for buyers to speak to an expert when they're wanting to purchase, because the bond origination consultants are expert at what they do. They understand all the different credit policies and nuances within each of the banks to be able to navigate through that and find the right solution for the client. And sometimes it is about adding a spouse or a friend or a colleague. And we see a lot of multiple applicants coming forward, especially the investor purchasers. people are getting together and pooling their money and buying property rather than putting it in other asset classes, which is definitely a good idea.
Yeah, and then I think just one thing to add there. I mean, I know we spoke about before the webinar started. I think a lot of people who are investors generally have private banking, and I think the assumption normally, which is wonderful, but the assumption normally is that the best option is just to go directly to a private bank and get financing. But I mean, like you were saying, is that banks are so hungry at the moment that the benefit of going through a mortgage originator is you get to shop around, and sometimes you're surprised by how hungry other banks are for your business. And I think it's a vitally important thing for people to understand. Hey,
Correct. And, if you're not going to have someone negotiating on your behalf and you're basically just having one stake in the fire with regards to the outcome of what you can achieve as a buyer, you are actually missing out as a purchaser on tremendous savings and also tailor-made solutions. So there is definitely no reason why people should not want to have access to that expert. It doesn't cost anything. We don't charge a fee. And be guided through the process, especially first-time buyers. I mean, it's an overwhelming transaction. The amount of paperwork sometimes can also be mind-blowing. So have someone that can walk you through the process, that can answer all your questions, that can make you feel safe with what it is that you're doing. That is the true nature of why the service is so important. Negotiation is key, but also client experience is absolutely critical in terms of, dealing with the buyer.
and I know our team will post in the chat the contact details for Uber representative as well as the pre-qual link, exactly so you can establish your affordability. Okay, Geoff and Chris, I'm literally going to fire questions at you guys. There's lots of questions from people in the chat, which is awesome. So I'm just going to go through this. I mean, Geoff, firstly, are the boundaries between Lalela and Sienna open to each other?
Absolutely. It's one estate. So all Sienna residents have got full access to everything the estate has to offer. Yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. And then is there any contractual arrangement with Manor House for Lalela residents?
Yeah, so Lalela residents aren't burdened by any of the costs of associated with the manor house. In fact, they're normally complemented. So, for example, FNB hosted that night under the stars set up, and all Lalela residents were given free access to the dress rehearsal the night before. We've had Lalela residents been given discounts for the various fairs and so on for their ticket purchases. So we like to keep the relationship good, but there is no financial burden whatsoever on any of Lalela residents via their levies or anything like that. It's completely independent, the manor house. And in time, it will become a central point for Lalela residents, we hope, with restaurant and bar taking shape there, when we've got some critical mass. So there's only upside, as I said.
Yeah.
And Geoff, I think you've mentioned Seaton House, the retail centre across the road as well. I think you just give some detail on that, or the plans for that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very exciting. There's a plan, and it's just absolute. I've been blown away by the amount of potential tenants that have already thrown their hat into wanting space. It'll be a 20,000 square meter retail centre, and we've literally searched the globe for something that really works for families. We want to have a node in that area where that day when you wake up and you want to do something with your kids or your spouse and you're just not sure what to do. So for there to be something within that particular precinct that ticks most boxes. And I think we've got an incredible concept that's coming together. Virgin Active were literally the first that dived in and said, we'd like to put up a new destination there. In fact, I wanted to even put a country club, but thankfully the estates in that area are well equipped with amenities. So that something of that scale probably wasn't necessary. but right down to all the normal retailers you expect, and then those kinds of retailers that really add that bit of extra that aren't necessarily natural. We don't want another strip mall or something that just has all the usual suspects, but young budding entrepreneurs that have got something to offer. There'll be a value come home center as well. We're looking at and all of this. Interestingly, Lalela has a underpass which links straight into the commercial area. So literally on your bicycle, you won't have to go through the estate main gate. That underpass will be fully secured via facial recognition, and you'll be able to get through, but easy access for pedestrians or on your bicycle or even a golf cart.
Yeah, so like you said, basically facilities that are available but not being incorporated into your purchase price that you're not paying for. Chris, quite a few questions. Alicia and Govender saying, I missed the first half. When will the estate be ready for occupation? And that I think that doubles up on a few other questions.
All things being equal, first 3 blocks, end of next year.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, just like we said earlier, a reminder that to you guys, you're paying a deposit now, you're not paying anything further until you're taking transfers.
So you got
right in the capital
7 days to pay your 20 grand to the attorneys, and then 30 days to secure your finance or you'll pay your cash, whatever. And then obviously on transfer you pay. So end of next year is when the funds flow.
Okay. And then questions were asked, attorneys in the project and architects in the project?
Lester Hall Fletcher are the attorneys, Collins attorneys, and Alfred Proom are the architects.
Okay. And then another question, is it going to be pet friendly?
Yeah, sorry, we should have mentioned that at the outset. Of course, yeah, with that amount of space, 2 little poodles, 2 little dogs of obviously of a certain size will be allowed in all the units.
Okay. Okay, cool. Time frame for occupation. I think we've discussed that. Parking bay allocations, and will there be storeroom facilities for purchase or rental?
So yeah, they are. You get 1 parking bay with your purchase, and you have an option to buy a second. Parking bay allocations is always a bit of a contentious issue, but we try our hardest. Your primary bay will be as close to your unit as possible. And there are storage available for purchase, yes.
Okay. And then the question here is, when can the public start buying?
They need to get hold of our agents and set up appointments.
Okay. Yeah, and I think just to confirm, we've obviously used this Saturday as the start of the launch period. And we're calling it the launch period in terms of the incentives that we've spoken about stretched for 3 weeks. So over 3 weekends, there will be activations on site. But like we've said, it's a first come, first served type scenario. We want to give everyone an opportunity to get to site, but really encourage you to book your appointment directly with the sales team. I know the details will be on the chat and arrange to get there as quickly as possible so you can understand what options exist and be able to capitalize as soon as you can. And then, yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying that the backgrounds we're sitting behind are part and parcel of the development in terms of the kitchen that I'm sitting in, lounges and so forth. And I think that's, Chris, that's a question here from Anonymous, but I think it's, will the units have a fully fitted kitchens like in the eco estate space? Number one. And then secondly, I think just if you look at Geoff, I mean, the facade, I think the guys have done a great job with the facade. And maybe just talk through the process that the guys went through from an architectural perspective.
Me first. Oven hob extractor. Yeah. There are no appliances outside of oven hob extractor, gas hob, electric oven and extractor. Yeah.
And then just architecture in terms of facade. Just the thought process
Look
there.
Behind Geoff. Look behind Geoff.
Yeah.
There it is now. That's it. That's the elevation right there. That's a Lalela architecture. I think it's called West Coast. What's it, Geoff? West Coast something. I don't know. Something along those lines.
Yeah, look, I think Nick Proom and his team have done a really good job to make spaces efficient. And yeah, I mean, it works. Being such a massive site for so few opportunities is extremely unusual. And we've been able to space the blocks out, as you can see behind me, apart from each other, from the guys at the other side of the site. And then the north-facing blocks have just got incredible open spaces in front of them. So, that's just that just generally does not happen in sectional title estates. Generally, the blocks are on top of each other, and there isn't that. So that's what is incredibly unique about Sienna, and it's very difficult, frankly, to be able to do. It's just how Lalela as an estate panned out, and it's a very, very fortunate position that we've been in with Sienna, where we're limited by how many units we can do, but we've got an abundance of space.
Agreed.
And then a question from Ravesh around anticipated rentals. I'm just going to answer that quickly, so I've got it in front of me. So in terms of if you are buying to rent out on a long-term basis, like Chris says, short-term is an option, but for minimum periods of 5 nights, we're expecting that a studio will get 10 grand a night, 10 grand a month, a 1-bed 12, a 2-bed 1-bath 14 and a half, a 2-bed 2-bath 16, and a 3-bed 2-bath 17 and a half, which is how those yields and returns are worked out off the purchase price. And then what I do want to do, I think there are a couple of other questions. I should answer the question about escalations, the next phase. I mean, Geoff or Chris, you guys can answer that, but generally that is the benefit of getting in early, is naturally prices will increase.
Correct. It's a launch for a reason. The benefits come with phase 1, and everything gets escalated thereafter.
100%. And then what I just want to do quickly is just I know I really appreciate all the questions. I just want to quickly pull up the website itself, which many of you, I mean, obviously would have registered on already, and just the marketplace that we have as a tool for anyone who wants to purchase come this weekend to be able to understand the product as best as possible. So I assume you guys can see my screen. You guys can see my screen, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think all of you would have seen the website. So just a reminder of being able to go through the different unit options, see the facilities, and also go through the investment calculator in terms of the yields. But I think more importantly, I think anyone, and again, I think here this aerial image highlights quite nicely where the seats and precinct will be, where the school will come, literally on your doorstep with the underpass, and then where the interchange will come in too. So it's quite significant. But I think just from a listings platform perspective, this is a tool that has been created for anyone who wants to understand the product prior to launch itself. And I really, really encourage you guys. And I've just asked the team to share this link on the chat. Generally, this will have been sent to you as part of your first mailer that you would receive subsequent to registering. But it just gives you the ability to be able to go through and view the pricing, and you can sort it by ascending or descending, whatever it may be, the floor plan options or the unit options. And I think just important to understand, here you can enlarge, you can see where the different unit configurations are in terms of block A3, B3, and C3, which we've spoken about, but also having the ability to search. So if you are looking specifically for a 1-bed unit, for example, it has the ability for you to then go in and see where those different options are. You also have the ability, if you're looking for a 1-bed on ground floor, as an example, it would highlight down to where those units are situated within which block, and then also being able to go into every specific unit. I mean, I think just interesting here is this is what I think Chris was referring to in terms of, yes, you can see the view. I mean, obviously it's planted, but you can start seeing where the garden spaces come into those units. You can see the schedule of areas for every particular unit. And you can see this particular unit has got a garden of 86 squares, which is quite significant. See the layout, see the renders for the units themselves, and then obviously see it in relation to the floor plan. But I mean, Chris, I mean, just without putting you on the spot, I mean, if you're a buyer who's looking at this for the first time, what's the kind of stuff that you think guys need to look out for in terms of being able to select units that give them first pick?
I think it's obviously what you can afford. Okay, so are you an investor? The smaller units have the high yields. That's just the way things work. If you're an end user, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, the stock standard unit for an affordable, for a sectional title scheme, a 3-story walk-up is a 2-bed, 1-bath, 2-bed, 2-bath. That's the stock standard. The smaller units are high yield, but the bigger units are low yield. So we find more end users in the 3 beds, 2-bed, 2-baths, more investors in the smaller units. But ultimately, guys, it's what you can afford. I mean, and that just talks about your affordability.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just the last thing before is just to be able to go through price range here. So if your price range between 825 and 125, it just identifies the unit options that work for you, where those are positioned within the different blocks, and then being able to identify for yourself. So I really, really encourage you guys to utilize this, chat to the sales team, and just narrow down your choices based on the fact that, yes, we're spreading this over 3 weeks, but obviously it's first come, first serve, and who capitalizes. But yeah, so and I think just in terms of last couple of questions, backup water facilities from Ravash, Chris or Geoff.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, the estate as a rule has backup water facilities, but that's via borehole. But in terms of the actual units, no. So we don't have. There's space in an apartment to start playing with JoJo tanks and so on.
Okay, so I think we're gonna start wrapping up. I hope I've answered most of the questions, and please have a look at the chat, which has some of the details of the listings platform, the sales team in terms of contacting the team directly, the Uber bond calculator, any information you need. But I think, yeah, just to recap, really encourage you to chat to the sales team directly, set up your appointment so you can get there as quickly as possible. Looking forward to a very, very exciting period ahead. And and hopefully I think we've answered any of the questions that you might have. Chris, Linda, Geoff, I don't know if you guys want to add anything before we close off.
No, thank you.
We're excited for the weekend, and it's been a long time coming. It's going to be great.
Sorry, Geoff, I spoke over you there. I just want to invite everybody to get pre-qualified. It's a quick process. It will stand you in good stead, and it will take some of the anxiety out of entering into a home ownership environment. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you all.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, thanks everyone for your time. I think we've had a great turnout. We've had some great questions, and we know everyone's time is super valuable. So like I said, we'll be sending a recording of this tomorrow. You can share it with anyone. There'll also be quite a few snippets of this on social media, and we'll add it to the website too. But yeah, looking forward to, actually very, very excited for the next couple of weeks. And thank everyone for their time, and thank you for the panelists. And we'll chat to everyone soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye now.